Well, it's a very good evening. It's 11 o'clock on Friday night. And I thought of doing this show about 5 minutes ago. So, welcome to whoever's on. Thank you for joining me. I'm not expecting that many of you, but however many of you are here, then let's do a show. Um, I hope you've been enjoying the World Cup. Pretty decent game that Spain won against Belgium tonight. Congratulations to them. They're going through to the semi-final. The game against France is going to be very interesting. It's going to be a really good game. England tomorrow night. Let's hope that we can just show the kind of performance that we did against Mexico, against that we did last week when we play Norway. And if we can get to the semi-final, then who do we face? Argentina, maybe? That'd be intriguing as well. Look, welcome to the show. Um, I was going to do a video about this particular subject, and I've been hesitating for quite a week or about a week or so, and sort of waiting for news to come out from West Ham about what happens next at the club, and who's in charge, and when are we going to see a bit of movement in the transfer window, etc. And I kind of wait. And nothing happens. And then I talk, I go on a Sunday or a Monday morning and say, well, this week will be the week when we start seeing things happening. And I've done that now. At the end of the second week now, it's coming into the third week where I don't really want to say the same thing again. I don't really want to say, we'll see what happens next week. I kind of predicted 2 weeks ago that we were going to see a lot of movement happening and nothing materialized. Then I predicted we would see a lot of movement happening in the week that's just gone. And one could argue that certain things have happened. Niels Koppen has been announced as our new director of player recruitment. And of course, we sold Fernandez week before last. And we've been hearing about Daniel Kretinsky that's going to put £100 million into the club in order to get our transfer campaign going. But things are happening quite slowly. Of course, we're still waiting for Kretinsky to increase his sharehold. And then there's something that's going on in the back of my mind. And it's something I don't really want to mention, but I kind of feel like I need to bounce off other people to see what they think. And what you guys might say in the chat will sort of help me. Because in the back of my mind, we heard back in the beginning of June that David Sullivan had resigned his post at West Ham on the operational side of things, but he hasn't gone. He's not left. He's still lurking. And whilst he's still lurking, I do wonder when an owner of a club or someone who has a really high stake in a football club, and in David Sullivan's case, 38.8%, when you've got that much of a holding in a football club, you're not sitting still doing nothing, are you? You're kind of going to be invested into making sure that things are going to happen to protect your money, to protect your investment. And I've been battling with this for quite a few weeks, where I'm saying to myself, the logical side of me is saying he's resigned. He's away from the operational activity on a day-to-day basis. We've gotten rid of him. And then the other side of me is going, but he still owns 38.8% of the club. And so is he going to really stay silent and allow things to happen around him? For example, allow us to buy players at whatever rate we want, allow us to get rid of players. I mean, there's some things that tell me that he's gone. When we have got £85 million for the sale of Matthias Fernandez, that suggests to me that Sullivan has not been involved in that deal. Because as we all know, if Sullivan was involved, we would have gotten rid of him for 55 million, the first offer we got. So when I see things like that, I kind of convince myself that he's not involved, he's out of the picture. But then something that's been happening in the first 2 weeks of the transfer window, how long's the window been open for? 10 days, 11 days, something like that. Now, we've not made a signing. Is that when Sullivan was around, we always would hear about signings taking forever. And maybe we're just stupid to assume that now that he's out of the picture, that we'd start getting some transfers in pretty quickly. But 10 days on, and we haven't signed anybody. Now, one may argue we've been waiting for Niels Koppen to arrive, and of course, we're not going to sign anyone until Koppen arrives. But then you hear an awful lot of transfer stories that are going on, that we're interested in all these players. Nothing changes there. We're interested in all these players, but all of a sudden we're hearing that that player may go to this club, that player may go to that. And there's a feeling of deja vu when that happens. We're beginning to think, hang on a minute, this is what was happening under Sullivan. So is anything changing? Now, could it be? Could it be that he's pulling the levers without being in the limelight? I don't know. And I'm genuinely asking the question, I don't know. Because yeah, some of the things that have been suggested in over the past few weeks, certainly when Sullivan resigned from his post on the operational side of things, some were suggesting, and I went with it as well, that his son was still involved. Jack Sullivan was still involved on board level. The amount of outcry that came from that's stupid, it's ridiculous, we're not going back, etc., etc. But I keep hearing stuff that I really don't want to report on. I certainly don't think anybody else does. That indeed, in the background, Sullivan Jr. is involved in some capacity. Some have even suggested, even though they don't want to put it out there, that it's possible that when we were recruiting for director of football recruitment, Jack Sullivan was involved in the interview process, helping out his dad, who has stepped away from the limelight. You see where I'm going with this? It worries me a little bit. It kind of concerns me that on the one hand, we believe that Sullivan Senior has gone, he's out of the picture. And then on the other hand, we're kind of hearing rumors, but no one wants to report them. So I don't know really what's going on. I'm going to see, I've started with that. So let's see who we got in the chat and see what you have to say. Steve, good evening to you. Daniela, good evening to you. Toha, how are you, mate? Good evening to you, mate. WE57, how are you? Snail Pace, good evening, Andrew. Who, me? I am at a snail pace. I'm tired. Steve, people say the reign of the dwarf is over, but he still has 38% of shares. So is he still involved? I'm glad you said that, because that's my head. My head is spinning in that respect. Josh, good evening to you, mate. Not concerned for once, not believing anything until the club announces it. Well, that's the other good thing. Without Sullivan around, the rumours have stopped. All these transfer rumours about the club per se has stopped. And that makes me think Sullivan's not involved. Or is he playing a clever game? Is he playing this game where he's saying, I've backed off, I'm not involved, etc., stopping, sort of getting in touch with it, or ITKs getting in touch with him, etc. But in the background, he's still lurking. So the rumors have certainly stopped. Now, what we can't stop are the rumors from everyone else. Agents are always going to spread rumors about players, because why? Because when they want a player to be sold, the more rumors that are out there, oh, well, West Ham are interested, and that club's interested, and this club's interested. You get a conversation going about a player. It's great for the agent. All of a sudden, on social media, there's a bidding war going on for players. So the rumors have stopped from our side, which makes me think Sullivan's not around. But then the rumors from other clubs or agents themselves have not stopped. Look at the rumor about it's gone, and I did a show on it the other day. There was a rumor from Chelsea. Of course, Axel Disasi. There was a rumor from a Chelsea journalist who's connected to Chelsea, saying that Axel Disasi at West Ham United are interested. Now, I think that is an interesting story. Now, but that has come from an ITK, a journalist who has a connection at Chelsea. Whether that rumor is true or not, we really don't know. We haven't got anyone on our side to corroborate that rumor or make that rumor, increase that rumor on. So you're never going to stop rumors. You're never going to stop rumors from journalists, ITKs, from other clubs, etc., agents, and so on. But the rumors have stopped. So that makes me think Sullivan's not around. But then the fact that it's taken quite a long time for us to sign any players makes me wonder, is it the same old, same old? Who else have we got here? Daniela, good evening to you. Recently joined the Pride of Irons after seeing them at last week's Pride event. Hope to attend my first game. fantastic. Well done, Daniela. I hope you had a good time at the Pride Festival. James, evening style. Just want to know if all the news surrounding Gustavo Sarr is even true. None of the English media, from what I've seen, is covering it. This is exactly what I mean, James. The rumours aren't being corroborated, so we don't know. Now, I'll tell you one thing. We know that now Niels Koppen is here. And there's an interesting story from The Athletic suggesting he hasn't started in his role yet. But yet, on the official West Ham website, it was welcome Niels Koppen. So, with the greatest of respect, I quite like The Athletic and what they report on. But with the greatest of respect, I think he is here. I think he has started his role. Now, the rumor about Gustavo Sarr is an interesting one because when you look at the background, when you look at who's been involved with that player in the past, Rui Pedro Silva, who was manager at Sarr's current club, Filimanchau, Portuguese club, and Silva was manager there. And it was Silva who gave Gustavo Sarr his senior debut at the age of 17. And also, Gustavo Sarr's agent is George Mendes. So there's a connection here. Now, you got to look at what happened when Nuno took over Wolverhampton Wanderers when they were in the Championship. And all of a sudden, they got a plethora, a whole host of Portuguese players into the squad. Too good for the Championship, which they proved to be, but not only too good for the Championship when they got promoted at first time of asking, those Portuguese players really sort of showed how capable they were in the Premier League. And of course, Wolverhampton Wanderers, they got seventh place in the first season, seventh place in the second season. They made Europe, quarterfinals of the Europa League and all that sort of stuff, semi-finals of the FA Cup, I think, as well. So when I look at what happened at Wolverhampton Wanderers, and then I look at the link for Gustavo Sarr, my mind goes, that seems to be an obvious choice. So it has gone quiet, but then I think a lot of rumours are going to go quiet over time because we're not getting the leaks from West Ham United. So it's quite interesting that we're being told about a player, and then I think we're going to have to get used to this. Now, let me just sort of put something out there. I'm quite happy that the rumours aren't happening. It's frustrating for content creators, for me and for other YouTube creators, those on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. It's frustrating to create content when you don't really know what's going on because all we're doing is speculating. But then I look back at previous transfer windows and I think, well, what's changed? Because most of the transfer rumors of the past, even when the leaks were around, were 80 odd % speculation. How many times we've been linked to so many different players only to find that they've ended up elsewhere, or we never really were interested, or we never stood a chance of getting them in the first place. Gustavo Sarr is an interesting one because apparently the rumor is with him is that the agent has sparked interest, saying that we're interested. So in order to get the bigger clubs in Portugal to go out and get him. Now, whether that's true or not, I can't tell you. But if there's any transfer rumor that I think could have a sense of realism to it, it's Gustavo Sarr. Mainly because Silva, the new assistant head coach, managed him at the Portuguese club, and because Mendes is his agent. So, WE, why would he stop us buying players? Doesn't make sense. Not that he would, but it's what I mean by that, mate, is what we became accustomed to in the past was things went slow because of Sullivan. He always took his time, always procrastinated over a signing, and always took forever. Whenever we were linked to a player, a real link, the times when we've lost a realistic link was because of Sullivan taking a hell of a long time to make a decision. That's what I mean by that. I don't mean that he would stop us from signing players at all, but just his procrastination. So is he still involved? Now, look, Karim Virani, the new CEO, is involved on the operational side, but he doesn't get involved on the on player transfers. But it's all down to Niels Koppen now. But Niels Koppen has also got to work closely with Nuno. they've got to be in agreement as to what players come in, because Niels Koppen, as I've sort of said in videos, has talked about what not he's talked about, but his profile is very much about signing players who are young, gifted, up and coming, worth something now, but would be worth an awful lot more in the future. That's the pattern that the likes of Brighton have got to off to a T. Brentford have done it. Bournemouth are doing it. You know, a lot of clubs in the Premier League, in order to survive, are buying players for relatively low money and then having them in the team for a year, 2 years, or whatever, and then moving them on for big money. You know, and that's what Niels Koppen is good at doing. But when it comes to players that we have that we would need who have got who need experience, that's what Nuno's thinking about. I said this in a previous video. Koppen will be looking for players that will last, that will do a job now, but will also be good for 2 or 3 years in West Ham's cycle. Nuno needs players that are going to do a job in the next 9 months, you know, to get us back up to the Premier League. So there's a difference there. But it doesn't mean that they can't work closely together. But there's going to be discussion as to what goes on. It's a long answer to your point, mate, but I hope you understand what I mean. Charles, good evening to you. Andrew, good evening, mate. Sullivan was a narcissist. He has thick skin. I never believed it would be simple to get rid of him. I'm not saying, please don't run away and start saying to others, oh, Stell said in his show that Sullivan's still around. I'm not saying that. I'm making an assumption here, because when you own so much of a football club, you do not sit around twiddling your thumbs, hoping that everyone else is going to do the business for you. Daniela, I'm not concerned. We have not signed anyone yet. Things will hot up after the World Cup. That's a good point. But there are people out there, there are players out there that aren't part of the World Cup at the moment. So you'd think that we might start making moves for some of those players. Steve, all gone quiet on the allegations against the Dwarf since the Panorama program. Well, that's another thing. Who's to say? And I don't know. I'm no expert. I don't know how long these things take. But who's to say that, you know, let's say he's nothing, no charges come against him. Let's say, you know, the investigations have been made, and let's say the old bill say, and Crown Prosecution Service or whoever gets involved say, these are allegations that were old. There's nothing to back them, etc., etc. We're not going to charge him with anything. Who's to say he won't just turn around and say, I'm exonerated, I'm coming back? Nothing will stop him doing that, to be quite honest with you. I think, Steve, it takes a bit of time, to be honest with you, to look into these allegations. But what happens thereafter? Trudge, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening to you. Ellis, I hope you're well. I've just realised that says West Ham. How stupid of me. I think the rumours are agent-driven. They all mostly are, mate. They mostly are. Ibrahim, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Josh, I don't think that Sullivan rumours are even worth reporting on. It's just stuff people don't want to hear, that we can't do anything about, and only serves to ruin the mood, in my opinion. That's a really good point. And that was another reason why I've hesitated whether I do a show about this or not. Because interestingly, when I kind of wrote some notes about it, one of the first things I said was, I don't want to ruin the atmosphere that's around the club at this present moment in time by looking at the likes of the possibility whether Sullivan is still pulling the strings in the background. So you've hit the nail on the head, you know, because there is a really good vibe about the club at the moment. Even though we haven't signed anyone yet, the feeling, it feels different. There's a feeling of communication. Look at the way Karim Virani is working with the fan advisory board. Engagement, the whole thing about the badge. Now, some people have been cynical and have said, oh, the badge, it's a distraction, so we don't look at all the crap that's going on. That's fair comment, but I don't think it's right comment. I think what West Ham are trying to do is they're trying to say, we want to engage with you. We've realised over the past that we know what Brady was like. Brady was like, she'll hear, but she wouldn't act. And it was all about lip service for Brady. She was quite dismissive of the fan base, and that's why the fan base became so frustrated with her, because She would listen. She'd have these meetings, these grandiose meetings with fan advisory boards, and have all these minutes, and this is what we're going to look into: seat and standing areas, and the layout of the stadium, and this, and the away fans, and the ticket sales to away fan, and all this stuff. And then you look at the next quarter minutes, and same things are there. Oh, we're going to look into it. We're going to look into these things, and we knew that Brady was dismissive of us and was paying lip service. Karim Varane, if I give him some credit, he's very well liked by the fan advisory board. There's a lot, and Hammers United as well. A lot of good things are being spoken about him, that he's engaging. He really wants to listen. He really wants to make a change. So I think that is a change. And that is a positive as well, which is fantastic. I think Kretinsky is not going to break his promises to West Ham, because he's seen the way we've turned on Sullivan, and rightly so, because Sullivan has been odious in the way he's gone about things. Kretinsky doesn't want to anger the fans. He wants to do right by them. But I think things are taking probably a bit longer than we expect. When you sort of look at selling shares, buying shares, etc., they don't happen like that. They don't have it's not like walking into a shop, you buy something and you walk out with it. Buying shares and selling shares takes time. Maybe that's the thing. We've got to be just patient and see what happens. West Ham Massive, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Keith, Kalispera to you. Well, I'm very well, and I hope you are, Keith, as well. Good evening to you, Jay. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. I have developed rumor immunity. That's nice. Yeah. I think it's good. I'm apathetic to it, Toha says. And that's good. I think that is good. I think eventually, when we become acclimatized to not having the rumors, I think it's good. The rumors are going to be out there. I mean, I've kind of, one thing I've not been doing much of over the last few weeks is doing a lot of transfer window stories about particular players. I've done a few. I did one obviously about Fernandez. I've done one about Somerville. I've talked about Alvarez the other day. I've talked about Disasi. But these are stories where I think they've got some I did one about Gustavo Sarr as well, where I think they've got a bit of substance to them. But there's so many players out there that every other day you're hearing about a different player being linked to West Ham, and I'm looking at them, and I've created this sort of like score sheet. One of them is this player a Niels Koppen type signing? So Niels Koppen, as I've said, will look for we'll look for young players who've got value in the future, players who are going to be able to give. Now, there you are, Sushi. Oh, there you are. Sorry, the two cats have just returned, so I apologise for that. Come on, come inside. The window's wide open, so bear with me a second. Katsu, come on, inside. Go on, out you go. Go on. Sorry about that. Live show. There you go. The cats just were two of them. The other one, the black cat, just sleeps all bloody day. He hardly moves. But the other two, they're out and about all the time. So anyway, so where was I? I've forgotten. I've lost my train of thought. Rumors. I was talking about rumors. So yeah, I've lost my train of thought. So I apologise. I'm going to have to go on to something else. Oz, it's all rumors at the moment. As someone, oh yeah, about players, so I've not been doing a lot of transfer window shows because there are so many rumors, and I've got this score, like a score sheet. So I give them a percentage rating. So I look at a player, I look at a story about we're linked to XYZ, and I look at them and I think, right, is he the type of player that Niels Koppen will sign? And if I think that there's a high percentage of, a likelihood, then I will talk about those players, and I'll say, yeah, it's a Koppen type of signing. I can see him going out scouting this type of player for Nuno. And then I've got a promotion or a Nuno type percentage. And I ask myself again, okay, if the player is not a Koppen type signing, is he the type of player that could win us, that would serve to win us promotion? Will he be? Dwight McNeil is a prime example that I spoke briefly about when I did this sort of like this percentage rating. Now, Dwight McNeil, would he be a Koppen signing? Absolutely no way. There's no way. He's 26 years of age. He's established. He'll cost us a lot of money. He could be on high wages already, etc. All those sort of things. And he hasn't got a sell-on value. You sign him at 26, you might have to pay, I don't know, 25 mil, 30 mil for him. He's not going to go up in value, to 50. for example. So Dwight McNeil's a prime example, whereas Gustavo Sarr, who comes in at about 17 million, 21 years of age, and you could see if he does really well, wins promotion to the Premier League, etc., then his value could go up. Now, Dwight McNeil, however, could be a player that Nuno might turn around and say, he's got a lot of experience. He's exactly the sort of player we need at the football club. I need him at the West Ham. So I balance those out. Now, if I think that a player is not going to score high on a Coppen type signing and not going to score high on a promotion type signing, I ain't going to bother to talk about them, because I think there's an awful lot of stories out there that are just filling airspace, so filling social media columns without there being much substance to them, and trying to pick the ones that I think are worthwhile. It ain't easy, but that's why I'm not doing a lot of transfer window shows at the moment. Daniela, the women's team have signed 2 players, I believe. I've heard they've signed about 5, haven't they, or something? Trudge, I used to enjoy them, but it's too much now. Absolutely. Mark, good evening, mate. Kretinsky asked the fans for patience. He's got the structure in place, and now the squad will be sorted. I think so. Let's not forget, we've still got 2 months. The transfer window doesn't shut until September the 1st. I know the season starts soon. But the transfer window itself doesn't shut for 2 months, just under 2 months. Graham, the dwarf is like a low-life snake. Graham, good evening to you, mate. The dwarf is a low-life snake, and I struggle to believe that he just admits defeat and does the decent thing. I struggle to believe that too. Maxwell Cornet, Ellis, we could save us. Cornet's an interesting player. He's been out on loan now for 3 seasons in a row, and he's still got 1 season left. Now, there's talk, maybe, that we'll just pay off the remainder of his contract. I don't think we can afford to do that. I think the story I did about Alvarez earlier on Friday, and I had a number of people saying, well, why don't we just sell him? Why are we loaning him out? Just sell him. I can see the logic in loaning a player out, because to sell a player, you need a club that will buy. Cornet is a prime example of that. He's been at, I think it's Genoa for 2 seasons now in Italy, and they've loaned him, and they don't want to buy him because of the risk of him getting injury. And then, of course, if he gets big injury, comes back to us, he's our problem. So they've been clever. They've said, we'll loan him, and we'll pay a percentage of his wages, but we don't want to buy him. We ain't buying him. We're just going to loan him. And so, but then that helps. So Cornet, I think, is on about 65, 70 grand a week, something like that. Now that we've been relegated, he's probably going to be one of the players that will have his wages halved. Not all of them will, but I can see Cornet being a prime candidate for having his wages halved. So it's down to about 35 grand a week. Now, at 35 grand a week, if a club wants to come in and take him off our hands for next to nothing and cover his wages in full, great. But I hesitate. Again, a lot of clubs out there, especially Italian clubs, don't have a lot of money. So even 35 grand a week is not necessarily going to be within their reach. So loaning a player is the next best option. If you want to sell a player, then you need a club that will buy. But if you can't find a club to buy a player, then loaning a player out is the next best thing. Because what will then happen is they will pay a portion of that player's wages. That comes off our wage bill. It reduces our propensity to, sort of break PSR rules. Now it's the new SCR rules. But it kind of helps. It lowers the wage bill, even though a player goes out on loan and only a percentage of his wages are covered. So I get it. So, of course, we want to sell Alvarez. Of course, we want to sell Cornet. But in order to sell, you need a club to buy them. Who else we got? Charles, only believe until the player is signed, shown, and the old-fashioned way, and bring back CFAX, Trodge, and Teletext the old way. Used to log into it. And do you remember the helpline that West Ham used to have? Do you remember years ago, you used to be able to call this line to be given the latest updates? Imagine doing that, imagine doing that now. Everyone's got a phone. All you've got to do is go onto Twitter or WhatsApp or whatever, and you get the latest updates. I guess that's the modern version, isn't it? Jay, good evening, mate. Late to the chat, was interested to hear Disasi was apparently at Rush Green yesterday. The new CEO fellow was there too. What a statement it would be if Axel returned, even if only on loan. And I did a show exactly on that. Now, that's got substance. That's the kind of transfer rumor that I think has got legs. Why? Because Disasi, I mean, for a number of reasons. Disasi, I think, even though we got relegated, I think he enjoyed his time at West Ham. There are clubs interested in him, no doubt, because he demonstrated how good a defender he really is. Chelsea, what's wrong with them? To actually not even give him an opportunity. But it served us well. But the reason why I think this potential link has got legs is because Disasi had a loan spell at Aston Villa the season before us. Didn't go well. It didn't never look like he was enjoying himself. He was kind of in and out of that team. It didn't go very well, and then he was put on the naughty step by Chelsea again when he returned. And the fact that West Ham United have taken that chance on Disasi, and Disasi took the chance on West Ham, it worked for both club and player. He enjoyed his time. All right, we didn't stay in the league, but he enjoyed his time. I think he made a lot of friends, and he certainly made an awful lot of friends with the West Ham fans who just thought from day one. If you remember, we were being told Disasi is unfit, is not match fit. It's going to take him ages to get back into the rhythm of playing, and he was thrown in by Nuno within days of him arriving, and he didn't look back. So I think that's got legs. I don't know how true that story is about him being at Rush Green yesterday. I genuinely don't know. But I make you right. I think if we're going to spend £25 million on a player, why not spend? So here's the thing: going back to is he a Coppen signing or is he a promotion type Nuno signing? Disasi falls well into the Nuno promotion signing. You know damn well that if we get Disasi in, even if on loan, he's going to absolutely smash it in the Championship. Now, a Chelsea fan saw that video and he did say, well, yeah, Disasi is all very well when you play the low block, etc. When you play in a team that in terms of, if you don't have a lot of possession, etc., backs to the wall kind of thing, he'll be very good for you. But if what we think in the Championship is we're going to be on the front foot, we're going to be having the ball an awful lot more. And this Chelsea fan suggested, he may not be as good for you. And I get that point. I get it. I think that's a logical, reasonable sort of argument to have. But I think Disasi will fit into Nuno's. Disasi absolutely did fit into Nuno's team. There were times when we were playing against teams when it was a bit of backs against the wall in the Premier League last season. So Disasi will know what would be expected of him. So I think he will be good for us. If we get him on loan, I think it'll have to be an obligation to buy. I think we'll have to cover all his wages. Whatever he's on at Chelsea, I've got no idea, but I'm pretty certain we'll have to cover all his wages. And he'll be one of the highest earners at West Ham in the Championship without a shadow of a doubt. If we have to pay 25 million for him, then good. Daniela saying good evening to everybody. Toby, good evening to you. I'm very well. I hope you are too. West Ham, Trodge, you wait for the page you're interested in, then 2 pages, skip, and you miss the page you're on. What's that, Trodge? What did you say? Is that when you're looking at transfer rumours and I don't know. Andrew, Mavropanos looks to be in demand. Lots of suitors. Even his old club Arsenal rumoured to be interested. Would be a blow to lose him. Do you honestly think that he would go back to Arsenal after the way he was treated by them? I think that's just bollocks, to be really honest with you. It's past the threshold, I can swear. That's absolute tosh. I really do think that that's a load of rubbish. And he's going to look at Arsenal and go, well, hang on a minute. You've got God knows how many centre backs. When am I going to get a chance to play? He's not going to Arsenal, people. Interest from German clubs, I dare say. Interest from other Premier League clubs, I dare say. But I think Dinos, especially if we keep Disasi, I think Dinos is going to go, you know what, West Ham, you've been good to me. I'll give you a year. Look at the way. I mean, look. If this was the end of last season and Arsenal and any club were in for Dinos, I would have said the guy's going because the way we treated him as fans, booing him. I'll never forget. Just over a year ago, we were booing the player when he was coming on as a sub, and then a year later, he was our Hammer of the Year. How fickle are we people? Come on. But we were booing him. So if this was a year ago and there were rumors about him being linked to other clubs, I would have said, yeah, he's going. But this is a year on. All right, we've been relegated. He's not going to want to play in that championship. No one is. Us, by the way, us fans are looking forward to it. And I'm sure the players will be as well. But uh, I think he's going to look at it and go, "You get Disasi back, mate. I'm staying." Because they were a formidable partnership, and the two of them in the championship will smash it. Ibrahim. So no, I don't think that rumor about him going to Arsenal is it's not even remotely true. I think that's just rubbish. I really do. Ibrahim, we're making good money on sales, but I don't know whether there'll be any left after paying off debts. But this thing you've got to not worry about. And I know there's a debt that has to be paid off by the 9th of July. Is that the Barclays loan? That's got to be paid off. There's a deadline for that. I don't know what's left of it, 40 million or something like that. But we've been told, and this is the thing going back to the beginning of the show about sort of, about is Sullivan still involved or not? What Kretinsky has promised is that we will put finances into West Ham. We will back the club financially. He said it. Once the sharehold has been increased for EP Holdings, the company that he owns parts of or runs or whatever, then they will fund the club accordingly. Funding the club accordingly is paying off your debts as well. So I ain't worried about that. Yes, we've got good money. I think we've made about 35, 36 million pounds off the sale of Fernandez to Tottenham. Can't even say the word. We've got 35, 36 million pound profit, 37 million pound profit from that. But it's not going to go. All the other debts are over time. Now, yes, the 9th of July for the Barclays debt is a deadline. Absolutely. We could refinance that. We could go back to Barclays and say, look, we're not ready to pay you. We'll give you 20 million back now, but we need to get an extension on the other 20 million or whatever. We could do something like that. But we've got money. Ironically, we've got money. And this is something else I've talked about before. Now, interestingly, there was a lot of concern about PSR. PSR ended on the 30th of June. That was the last day we were a Premier League club. Even though we got relegated in May, the 30th of June was the deadline. That was the last day we were a Premier League club. The 1st of July was the first day we were a Championship club. And now new rules come in, a squad cost ratio. Please don't ask me to. I ain't got any notes in front of me to tell you the difference. But something like about the percentage of, how much, you spend against the percentage that spend on player wages and all that sort of stuff against how much you earn, something like that. But anyway, so we were all worried about our debts. Now, the problem with West Ham has always been about cash flow. We never seem to have enough cash flow in order to keep the club going. And this is where Kretinsky comes in. Now, I said, we've heard the rumours that apparently he's going to inject 100 million pounds worth of money, 100 million pounds into the club. Now, he could do that in a number of different ways. He could do that. He could loan it to the club and charge interest on it. Many clubs do that. Many owners do that. They lend the club money and it gets paid back over time. And so the debts that we owe, Kretinsky could cover all those debts and say, I'm going to write off all those debts. I'm going to cover them. And what I'll do is I'll lend the club the money. You now owe me, Daniel Kretinsky, or the company, EP Holdings, you now owe me this debt. And there'll be a percentage charge. I think they have to legally apply an interest charge. Or he could say, look, this will be an unsolicited gift, and it's going to be unsecured, unsolicited. I'm not going to charge you interest. If I lose the money, I lose the money. That's on me. He could do something like that as well. Or he could lend the money to the club and over time, it could be transformed they can be turned into shares. So if in the future he wants to take an even bigger percentage of the club, it's got to be a sort of a shares right with all the other shareholders agreeing to it, but he could transform that loan into shares. So there's many ways of doing it. So don't worry, Ibrahim, about the loans, the debt that we owe at the moment. Most of them will be paid over time. The immediate debt is the Barclays loan, but even that can go back and renegotiate it. Jay, It's nice change to see the club no longer leak now more than a colander. Absolutely. Tony, good morning to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Trudge, just what I was just remembering. Mark, if the season started tomorrow, we'd have a pretty decent squad. That's very true. I will start getting worried if we sell Somerville and don't replace him with a pacey winger. Okay. Let's talk about Somerville. This is all off the cuff. I don't have a script or anything. So let's talk about Somerville. Here's the interesting thing. We've been saying we won't let Somerville go for any less than 50 million. Yeah, remember that? That's how it started. It was the Fernandes thing. I did a show. Fernandes and Somerville, if they got both got sold, we pay off nearly half our debt. That's just been mentioned by Ibrahim. And we've sold Fernandes. But all this talk about all this interest in Somerville, 50 million, we were saying, yeah, we're not going to go any lower than 50 million. Then out of the blue, all of a sudden, someone found a clause in his contract saying if we get relegated, he can go for 40 mil. That's his release clause. Now, you'd think that if there's an element of truth there, you'd have clubs queuing up to sign him, wouldn't you? 40 mil. People would be going, 40 mil, I'll have him now. Chelsea, apparently, and who else is interested in him? Chelsea, Arsenal. They're interested in everyone, aren't they? But whoever's interested, Man United and various other clubs, if they're really interested in Somerville and they get to hear that there's a 40 million pound release clause in his contract, don't you think they'd be on the blower straight away going, I want him, he's our player, there's the 40 million now. Now apparently all of a sudden it's gone from there's a 40 million pound release clause to there is a 40 million pound release clause, but it's all got to be paid up front. What a load of old baloney. Who came up with that? You know, all of a sudden it was gone from there's a 40 million pound release clause. Oh, no one's, oh, I know why they're not paying. They're not coming in for him because they got to pay it all up front. Now, look, Tottenham Hotspur did pay 44 million pound up front for Fernandes. So it's doable, but clubs are going to be looking at it and go, we're not paying 40 million pound up front for a player that's going to be in the Championship, where, you know, what we want to with Fernandes, the deal was different because 40 million up front and then the rest of it is going to be over, I think, 3 years, something like that. So they're scaling what they owe us over a period of time, even though there's a large payment up front. With Somerville, it'll just be 40 million and that's it. If this rumor is true, you know, what clubs want to do is they want to go, listen, what, I'll give you 15, 16, 18, let's call it 20, but the rest of it's going to be over the next 2 or 3 years. So they're not going to pay 40 million up front. And to be honest, I really don't think that there is I don't think there is a release clause. We'll soon find out, won't we? You know, Somerville's now, you know, his World Cup has ended. You know, they've got an extended period of time off. That's why World Cup players won't be back for probably another 2 weeks or just under before they join up with the rest of the squad. Let's see what happens then. Because with Alvarez, we know what's happening. He wants to go. There's interest. I've heard with Alvarez, by the way, is that even though his wages have halved, FC Cologne can't afford him. So it looks now, why is Alvarez being linked to FC Cologne? Steiden. Tim Steiden is now the squad coordinator or squad planner at FC Cologne. And of course, people will put 2 and 2 together. And same way as, you know, Rui Pedro Silva, the new assistant head coach, has come to West Ham. We're linked to Gustavo Sarr. Oh, yeah, there's the link. Gustavo Sarr was managed by Rui Pedro Silva. So there's the link. And the same thing is happening with Alvarez to FC Cologne. I'm not saying there's no interest, but it's the same kind of cycle. So Somerville, if there really is a 40 million pound release clause, why are the clubs not queuing up to buy him? Drodge. The league table was the worst when it went to Division 3 and took ages to flip around again. The league table was the worst when it went to Division 3. Talking about something, I'll try and get my head around that. And if I've got an answer for you, I'll come back to you. Oz the Hammer, good evening to you. I think the mainstream media love to peddle bad news. It doesn't seem to be too much around us at this moment in time, which is why my original start of this show was all about Sullivan, which is why I've really hesitated about putting a show out there about Sullivan. Is he is he remotely in control in the background or not? Um, Thibaut, Thibaut, good evening to you. The new people at the club know exactly what they're doing. Just let them get on with it. Yeah, that's fair. Let's hope that is true. Daniela, to Mark, I think Man United may have to sell Rashford first before they can look at Somerville. And I don't think Spurs will give us another 60 million plus in another transfer. I'd love to get 60 million for him. I don't think he's really worth that much. If I'm really truthful and honest, I think 40 million is about the right amount, 40, 45 million. If we get 50 million, I think we'd be cock a hoop, wouldn't we? But I'd rather keep him, in all honesty. I'd rather keep him. Jay, he knows the championship. He knows the championship, Somerville. You know, he was the championship player of the season that season, at the end of that season when we signed him. He knows the championship. He can do damage there. So would it be worth letting him go for 40, 50 million? We're talking about, spend the 40, 50, let him go for 40, 50 million and we buy a replacement. Well, we got a replacement. It's him, 24 years of age. He knows all about the championship, and if it doesn't work out, we don't get promoted at first time of asking, then you sell him for 40 million at the end of the season. Jay, wouldn't be a surprise if Sully was slowing down the process. Think his options to buy some of the gold shares expired at the end of June. If he refused to clear the way for Kretinsky, it's only been days. Yeah, I don't know about the deadline, to be honest with you, Jay. You could be absolutely right there. It could be correct and maybe. But my understanding is that when the statement went out on the 13th of June by Kretinsky and Gold to say that an agreement had been made to buy for Kretinsky to buy the gold shares, I think that decision by Sullivan had already been made by then. It might be right that there may be a deadline, but I think he'd already decided before then that he didn't want to buy any more shares. So I think the decision already been made, but you may be right about the deadline. Ibrahim, well, there's no way of telling that they know what they're doing just yet. Are you talking about the owners, the current regime? Well, no. Proof is going to be in the eating of the pudding. We've got to see what happens with all transfers, etc. Ian, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. West Ham. Does anyone remember Southern United in the first division? They stole Stan Collymore to Liverpool, then beat us in the cup. Southend, did they sell him to Liverpool? He was at Villa, wasn't he? Am I wrong? I could be wrong. No, I don't think I am. Trudge. We will be trying to get quality, and quality players will have options in the top leagues. So we've got to wait for the pecking order to be realistic. That's a good point, but this takes me all back to Niels Koppen. The reason why I think Koppen could be a success at West Ham is because he's not necessarily looking for the players that are Premier League ready now. Now, that's really important. They may be, after a season in the Championship, fingers crossed, ready for a stint in the Premier League. But Niels Koppen doesn't have to worry about competing with Premier League teams when it comes to signing players. He's got to look at the propensity of these players being ready for the Premier League. So that's the thing about Koppen. Like I said, what Koppen does, he looks for young players, gifted players, talented players, good technical players, players that are up and coming that may not just be the finished article just yet, but will be after a season or two. And that's why they'll be cheap. That's the difference. Look at when we signed Fernandes last season. We paid 40 odd million pounds for Fernandes because he was kind of still not the finished article, but he had a year, he had experience of the Premier League. So he demanded a higher value. What Koppen does, he looks for players that could get to that Fernandes stage, but they're not quite there now. So that's why the likes of Gustavo Sarr is an interesting story, because at 17 million, he's been playing in a competitive league, in the Portuguese league, for 3 years. He's proved himself there. He's under 21 Portuguese international, so he's got the propensity to get even better. So what Koppen comes in to do, he goes, those are the types of players we need because they're good for the now, and they'll be better. They'll improve, hopefully, with West Ham, and then become the 40, 50 million pound player in a season or two. So at the moment, Koppen doesn't have to worry about Premier League clubs to compete with, because he's looking for players kind of just below that level, if that makes sense. We will get the best of the rest. We might get the best of the rest for established players. That's why I don't think the Dwight McNeil story really sort of rings true. Why would he leave Everton and come to a championship club to fight promotion. I don't think so. But the best of the rest of established players, yeah, because it ain't going to be full of 23-year-olds. We're going to need players who are experienced, who are established, but then maybe those are the ones that we may get second pickings on. Jay, let's see if Sully sues the BBC. If no further action against him from the old bill, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Good evening to you, Steve. I hope you're well, mate. Good evening to you, Harry. Everyone is mugging manure off. Well, they didn't want to pay. Apparently, when it came to Fernandez, they did say they'll pay the 85 million, but what they wanted to do was pay a small amount of money up front, the rest of it over a period of time, which is natural. But then there was a hell of a lot of add-ons, So I think there was about 15 million pounds worth of add-ons that they wanted us to accept, and we went on your buy. Do you know what I really liked about that? We've made a marker for ourselves, a good one, a good one. Teams are going to come to us and go, we want your player, and we're going to go, sure, 50 million for Somerville. What you want? You want another? You want Bowen? Right, 50 mil for him as well. And we're not going to turn around and go, all right then, just because you've asked us several times, we'll take 35. We're actually going to stick to our guns. Why? Because Kretinsky has said, I want to keep our key players. But if he has to sell a key player, you might as well get top dollar for him, so that can be invested in the squad itself. Jay, will be a great day when Slimy Wrongham sells up, but I bet he keeps a few shares and never gives it all up. It will not surprise me if he keeps the 38%, 38.8%, and doesn't budge from that. It will not surprise me. Good evening, mates. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Mark. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Sean, have I missed Shark Watch? You're going to have to tell me what Shark Watch means, mate. Got no idea. I hope you're well. Ian, how are you, mate? The silence is deafening, but in a good way or in a bad way? Are you happy that we've got no more of these rumors? Like I said at the beginning of the show, you can't stop agents from spreading rumors. You can't stop journalists from spreading rumors. You can't stop other football clubs from spreading rumors. So they might say, "Oh, West Ham United are interested in this player, our player. He's not for sale. He's not for sale unless you give us 25 mil." That sort of thing. So you're still going to get rumors, but not from the club. Lovely. Toha. It's a cat watch on this channel. It was. Two of them came running through about 10 minutes ago, but they're out now. They're probably eating. Jay, what's a massive difference with the new CEO? What a massive difference with the new CEO fella and the way he conducts himself and represent the club. Seems a genuine bloke and has a true understanding of the fans and wants to work together. Absolutely. It's a smart move, a sensible move, but a smart move at the same time. Getting Karim Barani in, who knows about the fans and is, kind of on their side and on our side, sorry. And I think it's good. Bodes well for the future. Good evening, Sean. I hope you're well, mate. Living 90 proof. Good evening to you. How are you from Hammer and Talk? How are you? I'm very well and welcome to you, mate. I hope you're well too. Josh, I think the club should be trying to engage the fans. I'm not going to begrudge them trying to generate some positivity. There is enough negativity going around the club. I cannot wait for next season. You know what I'm worried about the whole negativity thing? How do I put this? How do I frame this? What I'm worried about is if we go to Burnley on the first league game of the season, and if we lose, I've got a fear. I've got a fear that the negativity might start again. I've got that fear. I've got that real concern that we're going to get people going, here we are, West Ham United, same old. Look at us, in the Championship. We can't even beat Burnley down there and all this bollocks. I've got that real fear. And if that starts from day one, the pressure's so much on West Ham United and the players to deliver week in, week out, because some fans are going to be deluded enough to think we're West Ham and, we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be in the Championship. We shouldn't actually. But, our record demonstrates that we deserve to go down. But, there are going to be some fans that are going to go, we're West Ham. We shouldn't be here. Look at a shit show. We can't even beat Burnley away. And if that starts from day one, I really worry about how the vibe can change amongst the fan base, because you're absolutely right. At this moment in time, Josh, There's so much positivity going around, and we got to be patient. We will do business in the transfer window. I absolutely don't doubt that at all. We will sell other players, Somerville, possibly, maybe one or two others. I know we've got to get rid of the Deadwood, and now the Deadwood are the likes of Fulkrug, Cornet, James Ward-Prowse, who's not favoured by Nuno. Those sorts of those sorts of players, I've got no doubt will move on. Alvarez, I'm 50-50 on. Wouldn't really mind him staying at West Ham. Think he can do a job, but I can understand why some fans want him to go. But there will be players that will go, and unfortunately, amongst the players that Nuno wants to get rid of, there's going to be one, maybe two, that we're not going to be happy about. Somerville, again, for me, he can do a job in the Championship. I'd rather keep him, but I can see that maybe if he doesn't want to stay, and we don't know that, but if he doesn't want to stay, then I can see him being sold. And if we do sell these players and then we go out against Burnley and we lose against them in the first game of the season, I'm worried. I'm worried that fans are going to turn sooner rather than later. This is going to be a long haul. It's going to be a 46 game season, and it'll probably take the whole of the transfer window to bed in all our new signing, get them in, bed them in, etc., etc. So we've got to be patient, and the minute we have a bad result, the minute we lose a game, I really, really don't want the fan base to start listening to social media columns and so on, and hear the negative rhetoric. I hope that doesn't happen. This is such a clean slate for West Ham United, and it started off really well. Brady's gone. Sullivan is out of the picture. We've got a new director of football player recruitment. So there's all these good things, and then Kretinsky has come out and said, we don't have to worry about PSR. We're not going to penalise financially. We're good. And we did our business in last summer and in January to make sure PSR wasn't going to be a problem. We sold enough players and we loaned out enough players to reduce the wage bill, to get some money in. Paqueta was sold in January. We've just sold Rodriguez. He was out on loan, and the deal with Villarreal, is it? I don't know how much it'll be a pittance. It'll be a couple of million, but it's still a couple of million more than we didn't have. So we were doing our business. We were cleaning out the club in terms of reducing the wage bill, getting rid of players, trying to sell a few players to bring a few quid in, and it's worked. PSR, we've sort of not fallen foul of it. So there will be other players being sold, but I hope we don't go down the negativity route. Sorry, I'm jumping, and I do apologise for that. Do tell me to slow down if I need to. Who else we got here? Charles, all gone quiet on the front line. Jay, don't think that Kretinsky will push ahead with a share purchase until the end of this month, until end of the first start of this month. Sully had an option to purchase some, which expired on 30th of June. Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, someone else said that already. Mark, Sushi rocks. Thank you for that. She sure does. The kitties are here, just fresh. They were here, and how far behind am I? That was said. Oh, that's 20 minutes ago. Oliver, living 90th, mate. Please don't. But thank you so much. Give a shout out to Hammer and Talkstell. I've done it. Thank you, mate. You didn't have to give me the money, but thank you so much. But do please subscribe to Hammer and Talk. Go and look at their site as well. Charles, all gone quiet on the Amanda Stavely. What do I say about Amanda Stavely? I got suckered in. Got to be honest. And then I did some research, and I was given some research as well. Look, there's absolutely no denying, the proof is there, that Amanda Stavely's involvement in Man City and Newcastle United has done right by both teams. No denying that. Now, we've got to be careful as to what we think Amanda Stavely's going to do at West Ham. Now, there's talk about she wants to come in and buy the club. She can't afford to buy the club. She's not a multi-millionairess. She doesn't have that. What Stavely does is she gets money in order to, it's like a pot, in order to buy a club. That's what she's good at. She herself doesn't have that kind of wealth. Even if only we're worth now, what, 450, 500 million, she doesn't have that kind of wealth. If she was to buy us, she would have to be in debt herself. and then that debt would be loaded onto the West Ham United, in order for her. So it's what the Glazers did when the Glazers bought Man United. They put the club. Man United was one of the best run clubs in the world, but what the Glazers did is they bought it, but they bought it with borrowed money, and then that borrowed money was no longer their money borrowed. They loaded it onto the club. So now it's Man United that owns all these billions, or whatever it is they own. And in order for Staveley to buy West Ham out, she would have to do the same thing. So I don't think she can afford to do that. To buy a share in West Ham, absolutely, I can see that. But then the problem there is you need shares to sell in order for Staveley to buy. Now, someone's just said, doesn't look like Sullivan's going to get rid of his shares anytime soon. Maybe, just maybe, when Kretinsky does become the highest shareholder at 43%, maybe then Sullivan might turn around and say, well, I'm no longer in control of this football club. I still have a vested interest because I've got a 38% share, but I'm no longer in control. So therefore, I might as well sell a few for my retirement. And then maybe Staveley might come in and buy, who knows, 10%, 15% of Sullivan's shares, maybe. But that 10, 15% of Sullivan's shares isn't going to give Staveley too much control. Now, interestingly, it's what she did at Newcastle. She didn't own the club. I don't know, I think she bought 10% of their shares. But because she started to get involved and started to have influence, that's what Staveley's good at. So if Staveley comes in, if there are shares to buy and she invests 10, 15, 20% in shares and buys them into the club, then she has an influence in terms of introducing more money into West Ham United by getting all these big companies interested and so on and so forth. And then what could happen in a year, 2 year, 3 years time is get back to the Premier League, we stabilize, we do well, our value goes up again, and then maybe we get Staveley introduces us to a big wealthy owner who goes, I want to buy West Ham United. That's what she's good at doing. But Kretinsky's got to be backing that as well. And you could see he's a businessman. So Kretinsky could certainly get behind that sort of thing. So, sorry, again, I've gone off on a tangent. So when it comes to Staveley, and she's going to buy the club, she was never going to buy the football club. She was never going to buy West Ham United. Why would Kretinsky increase his sharehold to 43% if 5 minutes later Staveley's coming in to buy the club? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical, doesn't make sense. But in terms of her coming in and having an influence in the club, absolutely. But in order for her to have an influence, someone needs to sell her some shares. Now, the Gold family never wanted to sell all of their shares. They got currently 25% sharehold. They're selling 16% to Kretinsky, so that Kretinsky's sharehold goes from 27% to 43%. And then they're going to keep hold of the other 9%. Now, it's possible in some time in the future, the Gold family may turn around and go, going to get, sell out completely. But I can't see that happening. Vanessa Gold, knows how much West Ham United meant to her father. She wants a legacy to continue. So I think 9% is a nice little legacy to hold on to. So I don't think the Golds will sell any more shares. Kretinsky, maybe, but then why buy shares in order to sell shares? Doesn't really make sense to me unless the club goes up in value dramatically. But the only way for the club to go up in value is when we get promotion. So we're talking a year away or more. So that Kretinsky's not going to sell shares. And then the other shareholders are, Trip Smith, I think owns 9-10%. So there's not a lot there unless he wants to just sell out. Yeah, he can do that. So the shares that could possibly be bought in order for Staveley to come into the club are David Sullivan shares. And like I said, the only way I could see quite possibly of him deciding to sell any of those shares is once Kretinsky becomes the majority shareholder. If he does, Sullivan will then go, well, I'm a lame duck. I've got no, there's nothing in this for me. I can't control what goes on operationally. So let's say he gets exonerated from all the charges or no, from all the claims against him, etc. Nothing happens. And he comes out, I've got a clean bill of health. And then he says, I'm going to come back to West Ham. The minute Kretinsky becomes the majority shareholder, even if Sullivan comes back to West Ham, on the operational side, he will no longer have a controlling stake because Kretinsky's got more shares. And then maybe Sullivan will go, well, I might as well sell. Maybe. And then maybe that's where Staveley comes in. Christ, where did all that come from in my head? Trodge, did we nick the new assistant manager from Forest, though? We might not be flavour of the month there. What's that in relation to? Rumour, they won't go away with the new recruitment guy. Got a thing for McAtee. McAtee, do you really believe that story? Well, here's the flip side of that story, the McAtee story, is apparently, I don't know how true this is, when Edu became global director or whatever it was at Nottingham Forest, apparently it was Edu that pushed to sign James McAtee, apparently. And apparently that was the signing that flipped Nuno. He didn't necessarily, good player, but he didn't necessarily want McAtee. He didn't think he fitted into his grand scheme of things. And apparently that's why Nuno and Evangelos, whatever his name is, the owner of Nottingham Forest, fell out. Is that true? I don't know. It's a rumor out there, so to say that Nuno was interested in McAtee, it's just a bit of lazy journalism. To be honest with you, I don't know if that's true or not. So Trodge said the rumor that won't go away with the new recruitment guy got a thing for McAtee. Nils Coppen, has he got a thing for McAtee? I don't know, is the honest answer. Okay, let's put it on the test of is he a possible, in terms of age and all the other attributes that Coppen would be looking for, he ticks a lot of boxes. But he won't come cheap to West Ham United. If we wanted to buy McAtee, it cost us, 30 million, 35? What did Nottingham Forest pay for him? He ain't going to come cheap. So that's the thing that knocks it down a little bit. I'm not sure. Who else have we got here? Sean, women's team assigned Neve Peacock, sister of Drew Peacock. I think you're right. Toha, Trodge, as the NF owner offloaded Pereira, Nottingham Forest owner, I don't think it's a problem. Richard, still, I've supported West Ham since the mid-60s and have been through a lot during that time. Forgive me for being sceptical about the latest news. I will wait and see. Rich, mate, I agree. I've been a fan from, early 70s, so I get what you're saying. Totally understand what you're saying. We've seen it. We've been relegated several times. We've been given promises several times, and most of them have not materialized. Toha, I was looking forward to Drew appearing fresh. Sean, imagine my surprise when I saw West Ham sign Peacock. Mr. McLaren, you're up. Good evening. I hope you're well. Trodge, good. Maybe we get a decent price on McAtee. People saying 30 million seems a bit steep after season he's just had. I don't know. I like McAtee. I think we should sign him, but let's see. Jay, we should have offered Alvarez at a higher percentage of his wages to stay and play for us in the Championship, and half if he insisted he wanted out on loan. Well, this is the thing I've been saying earlier. I don't know if Cologne, if Cologne get him, then they'll get him on loan. They're going to probably have to pay all of his wages. I can't see us paying any of it. But keeping him, I wouldn't have minded if we kept him. Trodge subsidising wages on Alvarez, Cornet, Kilman, Fulkrug looked likely. Kilman, I would say. Fulkrug, I would say, yeah. Kilman, I would say, yeah. Cornet, let's see. Alvarez, let's see. But if we have to keep them all, that wouldn't be good. Living proof, Disasi ain't staying. Oh, do you know something I don't? Tell me if you do. Jay, El Mashin would be amazing in the champion. That's half of my head says the same thing, and the other half says, if he goes, he goes. Stephen, good evening to you. Ebony Salmon, who comes in today, is the 7th signing of the summer I thought they signed quite a few. Yeah, thank you for that. Very much putting the men's team to shame, but bravo to whoever's doing the transfers. Good for them. Will happen. Have faith. Steve, I wrote a letter to West Ham asking about Phil Park's injury. Got a letter back from Ronnie Boyce along with a signed photo of Parks. Fantastic, that story. Neil, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. Been staying away from football since the end of the season. Dwarf losing control can only be good. Patience is key. Absolutely. Randy, I'm doing okay. Saying hello to everyone. Who else we've got? Let's see if I can read that. Malkstar. How are you, mate? I think if we get an enthusiastic and invested Dwight McNeil, it would be great. Be a great move. But if we get a sulky, selfish one, if he's not happy with the move, then no, because it affects morale. Yeah, I mean, I'd get him on loan. I'd get him on loan and see how he fares. And if we win promotion, then maybe have the loan. Based on promotion, there'd be an obligation to buy him and see how he does. Trudge, Dwight McNeil will probably do a Dawson and end up being a cult hero. There you go. Pete Disarcy is a must buy. I would say so, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Malkstar, Wan-Bissaka has got more of an Arsenal move than Mavropanos, in my opinion. Mavropanos going to Arsenal, I think. I laughed when I read that. I really did. Harry, good evening to you. So degree of you, I believe he loves being with us. And remember, his auntie is West Ham through. Oh, about Disarcy. I disagree. I think you're saying to disagree with you. Look, I think it could happen. I think the Disarcy deal could happen. Let's see. It's down to the player. Harry, my last two comments come out wrong. Basically, I believe he loves West Ham, would love being with us. You're an amazing human being. Harry, thank you, mate, and I hope you're well. Living proof. Have you seen the third strip today being prepared in the shop? I haven't. Is that the one with the blue stripe? Is that sorry, not the blue stripes. Is that the blue with the maroon, with the claret stripes, I think? Tell me what it is. Brendan, Toha, if Stell stitched some crossed irons on his T-shirt, I'd buy it. Trojan Records would be a great... Oh, you know what? I've written to them about 5 times. I've emailed them about 5 times. I've asked them, can you be the sponsor of my channel? And I would just wear Trojan T-shirts all the time. But of course, they haven't replied. I mean, why wouldn't they want to? I mean, lads, people, just do a petition. Petition to Trojan Records to sponsor the club. To sponsor West Ham Voice. I'd wear their outfits all the time. I've got some lovely Trojan T-shirt. The one I really love, is a rare one, the light blue one with the claret and the white stripe. And people have been asking me whether I get it. Apparently, they were limited edition. I don't know how I managed to get it, but there you go. But yeah, so start, knocking on their door. Jay, we should do a Gibbs White on Somerville if the release clause is real and leaked from his side. If the release clause is real, I'm really, really surprised that no one has come in and bid that money for him. Jay, looking at your background, I would love to have Soufal back for the next season. He would have given more than Wan-Bissaka last season. We probably would have stayed up if it was him and Kyle Walker-Peters on the right. I'm going to disagree with you, and I'll explain why I'm going to disagree with you. I love Soufal. I thought he was a fantastic player. I think he did right by us. He loved being at the club, etc., etc. However, I think his last season at West Ham, I think he lost a hell of a lot of pace, and wingers were overtaking him for fun, to be honest. And it was a real shame to see it, because had he stayed another season, he would have played with his heart on his sleeve, but I'm not sure he would have been up to the pace, to be quite honest with you. And he's done well. He's gone to Germany and he's done exceptionally well, and I'm pleased for him. But I thought it would have been the right time for him to go, to be honest with you. We're all talking about the Rocky Horror Show, so I'll let you crack on there. Harry, I can also see Magassa being an extremely important player for us next season. What's your opinion? Keep up the good work. It's the blind. I know, mate. You wrote to me and asked me to describe sushi for you, and I hope that the description was really good. Harry is one of our Blind Hammers fans, and you're more than welcome, Harry. And thank you for engaging in the show as well. Magassa's an interesting one, because when he arrived, I thought I liked him, and then he had a bit of a downside, and then he didn't get picked, and he came back in, and a couple of times he came back in, he was being put on in games, extremely busy, hard times of the games. And sometimes he showed up, sometimes he didn't. His performance against Man United away when he scored that equaliser, super. He was superb that night. We were up there at Old Trafford. He was superb that night. He played exceptionally well, and then he got dropped, and I couldn't understand why. And then when he came back, he didn't look quite as and the way he played before. And but I think I like Magassa. I think there's a good player in there, and I think he just needs his confidence. So yeah, I'm glad that he's staying. Josh, I think if we maintain the core of what was our starting 11 from the previous season, we have a good chance. I know we're relegated, but we dropped a lot of points due to the misfortune and tactics. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Josh again. We just need to hope that Nuno's learned from his mistakes and that his coaching staff, primarily Rui, is as influential as everyone says. Daniela, Callum Wilson to Brentford. Look, good luck to him. There was an offer on the table. We wanted to keep him. He decided he wants to go for the 100. Is it 100 goals? He wants to get into that category. He wants to score 100. Excuse me, 100 Premier League goals. So good luck to him. I think Brentford will do right by him. I think he'll do well for them. I would have liked to have kept him. I think he would have smashed the Championship, but he wanted to stay in the Premier League. And fair play, 34 years of age. His time is running out. So yeah, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Jay, I'll take McNeil or Hughes from Palace. Both would do a good job in the Championship. Trod Snodgrass did well for us, I thought. Sometimes McNeil types work out. Yeah, that's fine. That's fair. Xenophobic Smurf gameplay. Good evening to you. It said the assistant Nuno's reunited with is the brains behind Nuno's success. Then I'm glad we've got him. We all wanted Paco Gemes to stay. Rui, Pedro Silva, if he's half as good as the influential as Gemes was, then I think that would be fantastic. Tony, with the players we have at the moment, this could be our starting 11. Hermansen, Walker-Peters, Dinos, Myers, Skulls. Okay. Magassa, Potts, Orford, Bowen, Tati, Pablo. It will look nothing like this. Orford, you know what we do, don't you? We big up our under 21s, our academy players, and we say they're going to be the next best thing, and then we find out that they're not the next best thing. Do you know who I'd have in there instead of Orford? I'd have Mohamedou Kante is who I'd have in there. I think Mohamedou Kante is going to be the standout next season. And unfortunately for Orford, I think he's surpassed Orford. And I think in a way he's probably surpassed Potts as well. Kante, now apparently there's interest in Kante. Apparently, the clubs have been knocking on our door offering 15 to 20 million pounds. I don't believe that. I don't think he's worth 15 to 20 million pounds yet. If he has a good season in the Championship for us, I think he will absolutely be worth 15 to 20 million pounds by the end of it. I think Kante is the one to look out for. I like Myers. I think, ironically, I think he'd be better at left back than he would be in the as centre back. I'm worried about Skulls, but maybe a Championship season will be the making of him. Potts has proved that he can play in the Championship, so we shouldn't worry about Potts being in the side. But I'm not sure he'll get a lot of game time. I think he'll be a good backup. Orford, I think quite possibly will be loaned out, quite possibly. Ibrahim, said by people who simply don't like Nuno. Zeno, what did Zeno say again? About his assistant. Well, look, it's a team. They've got to work together. So, and there you go. Troj Kante, hopefully to add some physicality. Daniela, I'd be honest, I thought Fernandes went missing in games last season. I think he did at the end of the season because I think he realised the writing was on the wall and he was going to be tapped up. Jay, what youth players do you expect to have a breakthrough season? Just said, would Marshall score enough goals? No. Earthy, I don't think Earthy's going to be around. Orford, I'm not sure Orford. I think Orford will get loaned out. I think Earthy might be sold. I think he might be already. His contract's ended. I need to double check that. Pots and skulls, last chance to grab a. Marshall, maybe a backup, maybe. Earthy, I worry about Earthy. He couldn't even get into the Bristol City side on a regular basis last season when he got loaned out. Orford, I think, will be loaned out. I think Potts and Skulls will be in the squad, not necessarily starters. But for me, I've already said Kante is going to be the standout for me next season. Tranquillo, Harry Stell will smash the granny out of Burnley after doing Pompey. Let's hope so. Mountstar, how far behind am I? I'm catching up. Daniela, I agree that Tash, he started to grow. I think he was getting a bit big for his feet. I think that Tash, he started to grow. Daniela, who did Daniela say? Trying to look up behind. About Fernandez. Harry, do you believe that Sassy Wilson, give me a percentage of reviews. I didn't understand that, mate. Harry, I'm so sorry, mate. If you could just retype that slowly so I can understand what you meant there. Jay, I think we've done well to put ourselves out of a deep hole and surrounded by negativity in December, early January, to come so close to staying up and with a great team spirit and change in the mood. Jay, this is what I'm worried about, Jay. I hope the good mood stays. I really do. You know this channel. You know, I will criticize the club when I have to. I'll criticize players when I have to. I'll criticize the manager when I have to, but I won't bang on about it. You know, you criticize, you try and give constructive criticism at times if it's possible to do so, but then don't just linger. Life is so short, you know, isn't it, people? You know, to linger on to hate and criticism and depression and sort of all the negativity. Life's too short. You know, we move on. We're going to lose games. So, you know, I'll break it to you now. In the Championship, West Ham United are going to lose games. You don't have to go overboard about it. You know, there are going to be games when we're going to be absolutely shit. There are going to be games when we're going to go, that was awful. That was terrible. You know, there are going to be games like that. You know, but we can't lose our heads over it. And what we have to do is just go, okay, let's try and analyze what it is about that game that was so awful. Was it a particular player? Was it the system? Was it the manager? Was it the Was it the substitutions? What was it? You know, the one thing that we don't have to worry about next season? Yeah, VAR. We don't have to worry about VAR next season, so we can blame them. We can blame the referee, and that's all we'll blame. But then we'll go home satisfied. You know what would be great? What would be great is when we score a goal, and we can cheer. And the only time that if you see the lino, he's got his flag up, you know it's not a goal. You know it's not going to be a goal. But when the lino doesn't have the flag up, you know you're not going to spend the next 5 minutes waiting for someone to sit in front of a screen trying to find if someone's fingernail was offside or not. Well, that's going to be wonderful. I'm going to love the season that's coming up because I do not have to worry about VAR. Ibrahim, I think Fernandez was the only central midfielder who moved the board forward, and he did exceptionally. He was very good, and that's why we got 85 million for him. Harry, I really do apologise about my last couple of comments coming out wrong. Basically, being blind, extremely frustrating. Don't get frustrated, mate. It's lovely to have you part of the show. It really, really is. And I really, really appreciate you being involved and your comments. Just slow down with the comments, take your time writing them. I'll definitely read them out. Do you think Sassy will sign? Disasi will sign. Do I think Disasi will sign? I'd love for him to do so. It's difficult to know right now, but hopefully he does, mate. Zeno, with the squad that's been named, we will struggle in the Championship. Everyone thinks automatically we're going to run away with the league. Not a clue if we are anywhere near any signings. If we're nowhere near signings to strengthen. Look, I don't deny. I think it's going to be a difficult season. But I think if we can get a rhythm going, I think we'll do well. Look, it's now how many teams in playoffs? It's 6 now in playoffs, 2 automatic promotions, 6 in playoffs. We will, at the very least, will make a playoff. At the very least, we'll be in the playoffs. What I'd love for us to do is to get the one of the 2 automatic promotions. That's what I love. Daniela, I think as we've got the changes at the top, we fans need to fall back in love with the club and start owning the stadium atmosphere, which we're going to need as a 12-man on the. Look, one thing that was good about if I've got to say it, is the atmosphere last season was superb. 45,000 season ticket renewals. We had 48,500 season tickets last season, is my understanding. We've got 45,000 renewals now, and now those on the waiting list are being invited to buy season tickets. We're going to have sellouts at some games. There are going to be other games where we won't have sellouts. But guess what? In the Premier League, we had games where we weren't selling out either. You know, the one good thing about it is all those fans that were buying season tickets to watch their clubs play, like the Chelsea fans and the Arsenal fans, etc., will go, oh, what do I want to watch Championship for? So hopefully those idiots have buggered off. You know, so now hopefully we've got 45,000 West Ham fans in that stadium, and then there'll be other fans coming in. You know, there'll be ticket sales on the day or whatever leading up to the game. So I think the atmosphere will be good. Zeno, Sullivan will sell, but is demanding Premier League money. Yeah, that's what he'll want. You know, he's still in his head, believes what Brady said, that we're worth about 800 million or more. Well, at this moment in time, we're worth about 450, 500 at best. Zeno again, we're going to be everyone's cup final and they're going to love coming to the London Stadium. Good. Let them, because now with the season ticket sales that we've done, I think that bodes really, really well. Tony, with there being 16 playoff system, January could be massive for us if we aren't going so well. But will we have in the January window, what will we have money to spend? Who knows? Let's see what happens then. We've got to start off well, is my feeling. Jay, the sell of Pac-Man and a loan of Fulkrug helped change the dynamics in the changing room, made Bowen's job as captain a lot easier, and it showed. The addition of Pablo, Tati, and Axel created a great team spirit. I totally agree. Zeno apparently made a 25 bid for Disarcy, and he's yet to turn us down. Watch the show I did about him yesterday, all about Disarcy. Masuaku, Harry's on a free, and there's a good reason why he's on a free. Jay, that's why we're keeping key players is important to keep the team spirit built last season going into the new one, and work players like Bowen, Tati, Dino, and Disarcy will be back. Yeah, I agree. West Ham, Disarcy has other offers. We are one of 3 or 4. He's weighing up, and rightly so. But like I said at the beginning of the show, you know, he'll think about the loan spell he had at Aston Villa. He didn't feel loved there. And he'll think about, you know, West Ham United, you know, one season. I could go on loan there. And if we get promoted, we're a Premier League team again. And I love playing there. So, you know, the fact that he hasn't ruled us out, I think is good. Zeno, I think he will go full ownership minus 10% for the Gold family. I know this is some time ago. You're talking about Kretinsky. Well, Kretinsky is going to increase his ownership to 43% at this moment in time. Harry, it's a very long season, 46 games. We know that you can get halfway through the season and still win it. Give the players time, but I agree with you. We are very harsh fans. Yep. Let me scroll down a bit. Oh, hello, Hammerette. No, I didn't realize I was on here, to be honest with you. I decided about 10 minutes before I actually started. So how are you? I hope you're well. Zeno, also, let's hope his aunt says to come to West Ham regardless. You live there, and that's what a footballer needs, is love from the club and fans. Disarcy, it would be such a statement. Jay, if we can only have one of Mavropanos and Disarcy, who would you? That's cruel. I'm conflicted. I struggle, but I think it's got to be Dinos. He's been here longer, deserves loyalty after the way he was treated a year ago. I think Dinos would do all right in the Championship. You've got to give him the right player by his side. Zeno. There was talk Sullivan doesn't want to sell, but is demanding too much money for his shares. He wants Premier League money. Yep, I agree. Who else we've got? Hammerett. Could we get McAtee on loan for the season with option to buy if it works for us? I think that would suit Forest. Well, I talked about this earlier, and I don't know how true this is, Hammerett, but apparently from some of the stories I'm hearing is that it was the McAtee deal at Nottingham Forest that made Nuno fall out with the Nottingham Forest owner. How true that is, I don't know. When Edu came in, Edu was the one that was apparently behind the McAtee signing. Nuno didn't agree with it and threw his toys out the pram. If that's true or not, I just don't know. Does that mean then, if that's the case, would Nuno want him at West Ham? I don't know. Ibrahim, I hear Salah is looking for a new club. Zeno, the Alvarez thing is confusing. I read he wants to stay and play for us, and then seeing going on loan. Well, let's see what happens there. Harry, you've been a member, championship winners. You heard it here first. Member for 10 months. I've forgotten I still had the membership. If you want to become, I'm not promoting the membership, but well done for becoming a member for 10 months, mate. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Daniela, I think Somerville has injury issues that everyone knows about. Well, not think, we know damn well he has. Mark, still, I would keep both goalkeepers, Amanson and Areola. Heavy schedule this year. My thoughts are that we will let Areola go. I think a lot of the players that are on big money, Areola's on about 120 grand a week, is going to go. I think it's cutting. We're going to have to cut players out. Fulcrew's going to go. He's on big money. Ward-Prowse is going to go. He's on big money. Areola's going to go. He's on big money. So a lot of the players that are on those borderline 100 grand a week, 95 grand a week, 100 grand a week, more, they're the ones that can unfortunately go. The only one that's staying that's on that kind of money is of course Bowen. Philip, good evening to you. Transfers are like buying houses. There is often a chain and these things take time. Everyone is weighing up their options. We can't control the sale process. We have to let it play out. Good point. Really good point. Jay, Magassa terrifies me. He had a couple of anonymous games, even started then. Man United game, he was amazing, but thereafter it was shocking. Whenever the ball went to him, he would be he had bad games. But then he also had, I've seen him, he had good games. This is the thing about going to games. I'm lucky I can go to just about every game. Whether I'm going to do that in the championship next season remains to be seen. But I will try and go to as many games. Because what you see, when you see highlights, you're not sure. When you see, when not every game has been televised, so you don't quite know just how good a player has been. And I've seen quite a lot of games where Magassa has been superb. But I've also seen quite a lot of games where Magassa has been absolutely shite. So I think he is a player that will improve, can improve. Tony, since there is no West Ham players in the England squad, I'll be cheering on Norway tomorrow. Sorry, but history says England can only win with West Ham players. Well, not only with West Ham players, three West Ham players. There you go. Tell my partner that the other day, my wife now. I told her that the other day and she went, I don't understand what you're talking about. And I had to explain 1966 to her and then she went, I don't care. Jay, Kante to be runner-up Hammer of the Year to Bowen, who scores 25 plus goals, not quite 30. How many do you see him scoring when he stays? I'll give him 20. I'll give him 25 and 15 assists. How about that? Josh, I don't know if Earthy's contract is done. He was training in the latest video. Do you know what? I'm going to look it up. So you're going to bear with me. George Earthy transfer market. There you go. George Earthy transfer market. Come on, transfer market. See, go slow when you're live. If I weren't live, it would have come up straight away. There you go. George Earthy, and his contract ends on, well. It doesn't end this year. He's got another year going. So I genuinely thought he had a, unless he got it extended recently, I don't know. But yeah, George Earthy contract expires at the end of this season. So next June this season. Next June when this season ends. Yeah. I made a mistake there. So thank you for getting me to check that. I still don't know about Earthy, to be honest with you. I'd love to think that he will be a big player for us, but I'm not sure. Tony, loan moves need to be much better, as a bad loan can kill some kids' progress. Yeah, I agree with that, but you got to look at, well, I mean, you can't turn around to a club who's going to loan a player and say, we're only going to loan him to you if you play the player. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So it's quite, it's a bit of a gamble. You send the player out on loan and hope that they get, picked on a regular. But Potts, when he went out on loan twice, he got picked on a regular basis and it did him good. But George Earthy couldn't be picked on a regular basis. Harry, when did the Pompey tickets go on sale? They've got to be pretty soon, actually. I would have thought probably the beginning of next week. Just bought my tickets for the German friendly. I haven't told the wife yet. But yeah, Me and Paul Williams are going out to Germany for the 1st of August, the final friendly game before the season kicks off. I haven't told her yet. Harry, if it's that trip to Naples to see the Veiled Christ, I don't know what you're talking about, but there you go. VAR, Harry, wank. Absolutely. I think we all believe that. Jay, I agree. Relegation didn't bother me. Looking forward to winning games and possibly the league. And what a change to the enjoyment of the game and a real football experience with no VAR. It's going to be wonderful, Jay. It really is. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. Josh, the atmosphere last season was brilliant, better than what we were in the conference or the following season. Or the following season after that. I'm snapping up my season ticket Monday. Fantastic. Good luck to you, Josh. John, with the players we've got now, we smash the championship. Let's hope we can keep the main ones. Absolutely. Ibrahim, winning the league won't be easy. Wolves looked like they were assembling a good squad. I agree. It won't be easy at all. Spider-Man, good evening to you. We walk this wait and see. Finger red number one. I hope you were right, mate. I really do. Toha, can you spin a web any size and catch thieves just like flies? Oh, God, no idea. What you're talking about? Well, the World Wide Web. Yasu to you, C. Bailey. I hope you're well. Nothing, still nothing to add. Just wishing you well over the summer. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. I'm wishing you. I hope you'll listen this summer. Isn't it great? What moaning because it's too hot? Fuck off. It won't last. It won't last. It's going to be raining by the end of next week. That's what I heard today. Now, by the end of next week, it's going to be raining. So make the most of it. Go out there and get sunburn. Well, not too much. I'm being foolish when I say that. Put sunblock on. Go out and enjoy it. John, we've sold Ings. We can buy Messi now. Wages sold. Lawrence, evening from Lexington, Kentucky. Good evening to you, Lawrence. I hope you're well. Abraham, you were right. Still, Earthy's contract was running out last season and got extended. There you go. I thought so. Thank you for that. Extended. There you go. Sean, Orford contract is 2020. Yeah, he got it extended a couple of years ago for 5 years, didn't he? I think. Who else have we got here? Josh again. How do we go about buying pre-season tickets? And they're usually season ticket holders only because they're away. If they're available, if they go, look, I know there is still Stevenage tickets from sale, and I know there are Rangers tickets on sale as well. I'm not going to Rangers because it cost a fortune to go up there. Ironically, it'd be cheaper to go to Germany to watch West Ham and they're friendly there than it would to go to Rangers because apparently the Commonwealth Games are on. So the hotel prices are like, 500 quid a night and all this crap, and Wiggy said, we can stay in Carlisle. And then he said, we need, forgive me if anyone's from Carlisle here, but then he said, we need protection just in case we stay. What? Thanks. Yeah, let's go and stay in Carlisle and risk our lives there because it's dangerous. I don't know how dangerous Carlisle is. I've never been. Someone could tell me. Malkstar. Cheers, Stel. I'm off. Take care to you. Thank you for getting involved, mate. Much appreciated. Jay, Earthy disappointed last season on loan, but the season before, I'm sure he was great there and he was young player. He was young player of the year. Yeah, I agree with you. Lawrence, Brendan and Fresh, love you, mates. Ready to start the season. That's great to hear, mate. Do you think he'll want to rock the boat, Tony? Thoughts on Fearon for this season? Fearon, Preston, rock the boat. Clever. Preston, God, Fearon. What's his first name? Anyway, I know who you mean. I think he's a good player, but I think maybe not sure. You see, we've got to be careful about some players. We've got to be careful in terms of are they good enough? I said at the beginning of the show that Preston Fearon, I was correct. I said at the beginning of the show that we're not going to win this league just with youngsters. We're going to need some seasoned pros in there as well. And I worry about let me see, Jay. What are you saying about Carlisle? I was in Carlisle a few times. It's not. Well, good. Thank you. We're not going to win the league with just youngsters. And I worry that we're going to rely too much on our academy players or players that have been in the academy. And I'm not too sure. I think we need a balance. A lot of beautiful views in Carlisle. Maybe I got it wrong. Did he say Carlisle? I'm sure he said Carlisle. I'll ask him tomorrow. Um, I've done an hour and a half and I've waffled on. The start of this show was all about whether Sullivan um, is still dabbling in the background. He's sort of out of the limelight, but whether he's still involved in some way. And I've been hesitant to do a show about it because I don't want to dampen the good mood that that the club is in at the moment. There's a lot of positivity about the club, and then to suggest that Sullivan might still be in the background feels like putting a damper on it. So I'm not sure if I'm going to carry on with that, to be honest. But that was the start of the show. But as you see, we've got involved talking about everything. So thank you for keeping me going for an hour and 40 minutes. Jay, it does have its rough side. That's probably where Wiggy was suggesting we stay. West Ham, it's grim up north. Got a lot of northern games coming up, so going to get used to it. Right, people, thank you so much for joining me. It was impromptu. I really appreciate you getting involved in the chat and keeping me on my toes. And thank you all very much. Now, I'll be back again. There'll be a video coming out tomorrow. I don't know what subject I'm going to do yet. Could be about Callum Wilson going to Brentford, but there's a twist on that. So look out for that if I do it. Otherwise, I will do a show about Sullivan and then just dampen the mood. But look out for what I plan to put out. Thank you for joining me. Really appreciated. Have good whatever's left of the evening. But if you're in Kentucky, you've probably got the whole day to look forward to. So enjoy yourself there, Lawrence. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And I will see you all very soon.